This is the worst.
You need to go back to the drawing board because your game absolutely sucks!
Do we have to put up with this? I mean, I think we can do better than this.
I'm very disappointed.
The price is wrong, bitch.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Who in the blue hell are you?
Really?
Boy, have you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it.
Not a great plan.
You serious?
When it comes to action figures, over the last 25 years, Hasbro Marvel Legends have given us some absolute bangers. And this video is not about those, because we are not here to talk about the bangers. We are here to talk about the clangers. And over the last quarter of a century, we have had quite a few. In fact, I dare say, we've had about 100 of them, and that is what we are going to cover in this video. Because I'm David, this is the EMVP Earth's mightiest video podcast displaying moral behavior, and these are the top 100 worst Marvel Legends ever. Now, don't get this wrong for a single second. I love Marvel Legends. They are the product that this channel was built on. And to be fair, they got me through some tough times collecting these little plastic action figures. But you know what you do when you got friends who you're so close to, they're like brothers to you? You roast them. It's only the people that you really like that you can talk the most trash about, because it's fun to do. You might be asking yourself, well, Dave, where's the top 100 worst McFarlane figures video? Well, I'll tell you. I don't care enough about McFarlane figures to make that video, but Marvel Legends, I got the passion. And because of that, we got the sauce. And we got the material to really give them hell when we feel like they deserve it. So let's not stand on ceremony, Mr. Wayne. Let's talk about them. We're going to kick this list off with a figure that's actually at the top of the top 100 best Marvel Legends, at least in the last version of that list I did. Because who doesn't love a little bit of crossover continuity? Just on the border between both of those lists, we have the Super Adaptoid. Okay, I know that there are thousands of Marvel Legends in between the top 100 and the bottom 100, yet somehow this guy can do the Rob Van Dam, Jean-Claude Van Damme splits and bridge both lists. Because he's amazing that we have a huge, big Super Adaptoid figure in the Marvel Legends collection with all the different Avengers gear on him. That makes him one of the top 100. But you know what makes him one of the bottom 100? The same thing, except for the fact that he doesn't have the wings from the Wasp, which was such a simple thing you could have included. There's some other points as well. I'll get to those. But the wings is huge, because his whole gimmick is that he takes all the powers of the Avengers. So every Avengers character is referenced and represented on this figure, except for the wings. Why? Because we're not going to sculpt anymore, all right? We've done enough. Dude, the wing is just a little flat bit of no, shut up, you're not getting it. It's one of those things that could have tipped this over into being an all-time great action figure, and instead, because they didn't want to go that little extra mile, it actually makes it egregiously incomplete. And then there's also the fact that it's based on a modern Captain America body. They had their 12-inch modern Captain America figure, and they went, well, yeah, the size is right, so we'll just use that. So the texture of the Kevlar and stuff on the body doesn't actually match the classic design, but I'd be willing to let that go if they included the wings. But they didn't. And in doing so, they mugged themselves. And that is why the Super Adaptoid is in the top 100 best and also the top 100 worst Marvel Legends. What a way to get started. Thundra. Na 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 na. Thundra. Okay, I'll stop that. Thundra. Funnily enough, I bought her because I just got the Absorbing Man Builder figure, and I was like, oh yeah, he's got his girlfriend, Thundra. Oh, I've got to have them together. And then I realized, oh no, wait, you're thinking of Titania, Dave. You doofus. You know what Titania is? She's a much better action figure than Thundra, that's for darn sure. There's a few things that are okay with Thundra. Her actual size and like her athletic, muscular physique is pretty well done. But then she's got this look. Oh God, I have no idea how I look on camera doing that, but she's got this look. So I don't know why they insist on having her sort of like looking down with her eyes looking up, but her head isn't looking down. That's the thing. And she's so tall. Why would she be like looking down and up? It looks real odd, is what I'm saying. Plus, she has a bugbear of mine, which I won't hold against her because it was the style at the time and probably still is, which was the molded plastic chain. I'm sorry, if someone has an accessory that has a chain, you just got to do an actual segmented chain. Molded plastic looks rubbish, especially on McFarlane figures. Don't want to roast McFarlane in a video that doesn't even feature McFarlane. Poor old Todd's catching strays everywhere. But yeah, molded chains just look naff. This look naff. Now, you can't say that this list is not up to date because I'm actually going to feature a figure that hasn't even been released yet. How's that for being a hater? You hate it before you've even got it. Well, Ultimate Wolverine, you brought this out of me. And the main reason for that is because I really was looking forward to this because the Ultimate Wolverine redesign is a pretty darn cool interpretation of the old Knucklehead. No longer is he in his yellow and blue regular spandex attire or some variation of that. We got the mean, badass Winter Soldier version of Wolverine. And considering that we just got the Marvel vs. Capcom style Gamerverse Wolverine, who was remodeled from the ground up to look exaggerated and awesome and badass, you can't help but think, man, after making this little guy, Marvel Legends can't oh, they missed. They just used the same old body that they had been using, but no, not the same old body. Let me stop myself there, because it's not the same old body. You want to look at the last great Wolverine figure? Astonishing Wolverine. Mwah! What a chef's kiss of an action figure. Modern articulation, whole bunch of accessories. You love to see it. Maybe they could do something like that, or a combination with that and the Gamerverse Wolverine for Ultimate No, he's not. No, he's just a tired old body. Kind of like mine. A tired old body that's seen better days. Just looks like something from 10 years ago that they slapped a Wolverine paint job and a new head on. The new head doesn't even look that good. The Ultimate Wolverine, the mask looks badass. And then he actually has this halfway kind of look as well, with the Winter Soldier face mask, Mortal Kombat style, but then with his crazy hair out the top. It's such a unique look for Wolverine. Nah, not going to do that. And then the body itself, just of course, slap a paint on there to do the costume. It feels like such a half measure. And then the one thing about Wolverine you really want to get right is the claws. No. The worst Wolverine claws I think we might have ever had. I think they might have used these on the X-Men 97 figure, but damn guys, these little things, these little toothpick looking things with one middle claw longer than the others, what's that all about? Yeah, Ultimate Wolverine? Ultimately not. Maximum Hulk, the maximum version of the figure, the last Hulk figure you'll ever need for a month until Professor Hulk gets revealed. And then all of a sudden this is the much more superior Hulk figure. Amazing. And that's not the least of it. First of all, when this Hulk figure was revealed as the Maximum Hulk, maximum reuse, am I right? They can't stop me if I'm wrong. Yeah, half of this figure was the same Hulk body that we had so many times before. The 80th anniversary Wolverine first appearance 2-pack Hulk is absolute peak Marvel Legends, all right? But the 5th time we're getting this body in what is meant to be the maximum version of the character, unacceptable, lads. Unacceptable. And then we have the saga of the rubber chest, something that I was actually a proponent for. I'm like, yeah, let's try different things. Let's mix it up. You know what? Storm Collectibles, they use latex and rubber and stuff, and it actually makes the figure much more articulatable, if that's a word. go for it. And they did. And it turns out the rubber does not wear well. Apparently a lot of people having cracks and ripping, and it wasn't really fit for purpose. I will be surprised if that ever makes a comeback. But at least he could do his thunderclap. And then you had 3 different heads, and none of them were really great. They had an Ed McGuinness style one that was kind of Ed McGuinness, but also looked like a weird anime sort of thing going on there, more Dragon Ball Z than Ed McGuinness. You had a roar, but it looked like his gigantic mouth was just full of Wrigley's chewing gum. And then finally you had the slick back sort of Professor Hulk-ish kind of, but not really hair, but then with the demonic white eyes. None of those really did it, I have to admit. And if you dropped $60 on him, then I hope you can resell him, because that Professor Hulk figure, that's the actual Maximum Hulk right there. This was the maximum placeholder. Avalanche, the member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants who causes literal earthquakes wherever he goes. You wouldn't know it from looking at him. It looks like he works at the DMV, and people keep making fun of him because of his silly hat, which he refuses to take off, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't hear all of their jibes and barbs, and that makes him sad. That is the Avalanche we got. I remember when I did the review of this guy, back in the old days, when I used to buy action figures to review them. Can't afford to do that anymore, but I can still talk trash about them. The title of my review was, "What's the least we can do?" Well, that's it. I understand that Avalanche isn't a huge mainstream character, but at the same time, he is a staple member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. You want to put that team together, makes a whole bunch of sense to make him. But it's almost like out of spite, they gave him the most rubbish face sculpt they could possibly do. Because what about this flat, plain expression of nothingness says Avalanche? And the fact that they had other figures out around about this time that had such animated faces, this was around about a time where I think Marvel Legends were really finding like a new renaissance of great, awesome face sculpts. So the fact that this one came out at a similar time as when we got the Hood being like, ah, that's just crazy. And I saw a lot of people do kit bashes where they could jimmy the helmet off of Avalanche and put it on the Hood face. And that looked so much more effective, because this ain't it. Oh, the dangers of having to put out an action figure wave in alignment with the release of a movie. Because of that, you get figures like Inside Out costume Spider-Man. Once again, we were clamoring, we were so eager to get figures for Spider-Man No Way Home. And that first wave, I feel for your Marvel Legends team. I do, because I think you guys were probably either as in the dark as the general public as to who was going to be in the movie, because it was very secretive, or you were told, but you weren't allowed to let anyone else know. So therefore, you could only show things that had already been shown, and you could only make figures that had already been revealed. So we got Inside Out suit Spider-Man. And I remember that even when this was released, we didn't know what it was exactly. We were thinking, oh, is this like some Doctor Strange costume? Is this some special high-tech new version of the Spider-Man? No, it's just the Inside Out suit. Why? Because he got paint splashed on it. That was something I always thought was like really weird. Like you're Spider-Man. You're wearing a suit. Just like, who cares if it's got paint on it? Like turning it inside out. Like it's like it was done to justify an action figure. But why? I don't know. But I still bought it because I wanted the armadillo. And in there, that's the life of a Marvel Legends collector. Talk about Malibu Stacy with a new hat. How about Nebula with a wig? Ta-da! We have Heist Nebula. The whole What If wave felt kind of weird because it's such throwaway characters. None of these characters have any kind of longevity or lineage or even like real like amazing sort of standout, oh, you only appeared once, but what an appearance! This was Nebula in a random episode of What If where she was wearing a wig. Okay, that'll be $27, please. Really? Nah, I think I'd be happier with the money. Maybe sell me a wig for $27. I'd appreciate that. But an action figure wearing one? Nah, I'm good. Now this, I had to really do a side-by-side comparison. I had to look at the two pictures next to each other and go, wait, so this is a different figure. You know what I'm talking about because we're looking at it right now. It's the stealth version of the Gamerverse Captain America. Like the original one wasn't rubbish enough. Like, you got the original one and you were like, oh, it's rubbish, but if only it had the unmasked, not Steve Rogers head, that would make it just that little bit extra rubbish, because it's got an unmasked head now that shows you how bad the not Chris Evans Captain America looks in the game. Mind-blowing that someone was like, yes, this figure's so crap, we need to do it again. What, to make it better? No, we've got to make it worse. You know the tiny little bits of color that the original ones had? Yeah, well, let's just take all that out, because now it's stealth mode. It's just one of the many reasons that those Sony Avengers designs look terrible was they sucked all the fun out. They sucked all the color out. But even then, like, you had like a little hint of red kind of just like coming through. So like, what if we took it all out? Just made it a monochrome, nothing Captain America. Yeah, let's do that. And let's put another Build-A-Figure piece with it. Yeah, okay, let's do that. Freaking terrible. A figure so bad, they made it twice. Because screw you. You know that we can't go far on this list without going back to the Gamerverse and giving them a good old roasting. And once again, this Hasbro Marvel Legends gang, I feel for ya, because this isn't a technically bad action figure. This Iron Man here, a whole bunch of sculpting and nice shiny chrome paint, but it's on an action figure that once again is stars in their eyes Tony Stark. This ain't it. This looks like not even a good Tony Stark impersonator. This is just a dude with a goatee. This is like in the late 90s when everyone who was losing their hair thought, oh, you know what? It's good enough for Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'll just shave it off and grow a goatee. That doesn't make you look like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay? Believe me, I tried. But this looks like, oh, well, he's got black hair and a mustache and goatee. Yeah, that's Tony Stark. Nope. No, it ain't. But also, even though they maybe had to do these figures because of some contractual kind of thing, the fact that they really kind of lent into it and committed to it with Build-A-Figures as well, and then they didn't even finish the Avengers, that's pretty darn bad. So anyone who actually invested money in these thinking, oh, well, I can build the Gamerverse for reasons, well, guess what? You couldn't even finish that. Loki, the god of mischief, undoubtedly one of the biggest players in the Marvel Universe. You would have thought by now he would have got an action figure that did him justice. He hasn't. He's had two really rubbish figures. That's if we're talking modern Marvel Legends. So we got one Loki who came out quite a while ago. I can't even remember what wave he was in, but he was very underwhelming. Just a painted body, really. The fish chainmail, the fish scale chainmail, you know what I'm talking about? That's just painted on there, which always looks so rubbish. Man, when I heard that they were going to do a brand new retro-carded Loki, oh, fantastic. Finally, the true son of Odin, the true ruler of Asgard, is going to get his justice. Oh, no, he's not. It's the same. It's the same figure again, the different head. Yeah. Man, come on, the first version of Loki was bad enough, but I was willing to let it slide because at least it was sort of its time. Even then, there were far superior Marvel Legends. But to then do it again, just for the lols, I suppose? They gave them an extra head. That's not the point. It wasn't the head that was the problem. It was everything else. If you're going to do fish scale chainmail armor, I'm sorry, you got to sculpt it. Certainly in this day and age, you absolutely do. But even when that retro carded one came out, it was only like 2021, 2022. It wasn't eons ago. We had moved on since then. Okay. And the fact that after that one came out, we're still waiting for a halfway decent Loki? Unbelievable. Unbelievable? Yes, it is unbelievable We're still waiting for this. I'm not editing that. Plus, in 2026, we have the Throg of Thunder, but we don't have a decent Loki. That is unacceptable. A little bit of a twofer over here because it's Marvel Legends at their worst in some regards. We've got this modern Doctor Strange, two different versions of the same character. Neither one was really desperately asked for, and one of them was just Malibu Stacy with a new hat. I thought it was kind of egregious that Marvel Legends gave us a Doctor Strange who was pretty bare bones. First of all, not classic Doctor Strange. We'd have to wait a little while for that one, but boy, did they make up for it when they gave it to us. But first, we had this modern one who was, okay, well, if you want to build the Hulkbuster, you're going to have to get him. But then they had the cojones to take this average, nay, below average action figure and re-release him with a cape, because also it's Doctor Strange. So why didn't he have a cape the first time? I'll tell you why. Because you can release the exact same action figure again with a cape. That gets real shady when that happens. And the fact that we now had two Doctor Stranges, one of which just was without the cape. Guess what? You take the cape off the new one, you've got identical Doctor Stranges. And we still didn't have the classic Doctor Strange. Yeah, the Marvel Legends, back in 20, whenever it was that came out, we were feeling the frustration. Now, 15 years later, it's still there. Next up, we've got the Fallen Silver Surfer. This is one that was a little bit controversial for me because I would never have picked this. I actually kind of like this figure. I think the chrome, that onyx, is that how you describe that sort of look? Really pretty. But a lot of folks said, yeah, Dave. But he came out when people were desperate, clamoring for a new Silver Surfer, because we only had the Walgreens one if we're talking modern Marvel Legends. And then Hasbro give us this, and there's no update. It's on an old body, kind of antiquated, and it's not classic Silver Surfer. It's nice to get a different version, but it's almost Marvel Legends were like, oh, we know you want another version of the same one. Well, guess what? We're going to redo the old one first in a different color scheme. And it just felt a little bit surplus to requirements. For everything that we had, it's nice to have different versions of characters. Don't get me wrong. And again, for everything that I moan about on this list, it's with love in my heart because I love this line. But sometimes it's fun to have a little gripe and a groan. And at a day and age where folks were really clamoring for a new updated Silver Surfer, this wasn't it. Here's a figure that I would have never have thought to include because I thought he's actually pretty good, and that is Shang Chi. Until once again, someone suggested it to me, and I was like, "No, why? What? No, that's a good MCU figure." And they're like, "Yeah, Dave, who's an MCU figure of?" And I'm like, "Shang Chi, Simu Lee." And they're like, "Is it? Do you want to take a closer look?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that they've done better likenesses, haven't they? Yeah, that's not a good-looking Simu Lee right there at all. I mean, it kind of looks like person from Hong Kong, maybe. Is he from Hong Kong or mainland China? I don't know. I want to fact check myself on that one. But wherever he is originally from, this action figure does not look much like him. So that alone is a fairly good reason, but is it enough to make him one of the worst Marvel Legends ever? Possibly not. That's a little bit harsh. Except for the fact that he's a martial artist. Okay, yeah. You know what a martial artist should really have? Fist hands. You know what this martial arts fist fighting character doesn't have? Yeah, it's fist hands, in case you weren't sure. He doesn't come with any fists. Nope. Nope. Comes with a few hands. None of them are good for punching, though. If you want someone who does have a couple of fist hands and various other ones as well, we've got an old school white costume Iron Fist. Okay, this one, at first glance, it looks okay. And then you take a second glance and a third and a fourth, but you don't need those third and fourth ones because you can see this is on an old body. And one of the worst things about this old body is that it looks emaciated. There were a few characters that were made on this body way back in the day, and it was kind of okay because you're still kind of working out the kinks, finding your Marvel Legends style. I'll let it slide, even though you've literally got like the intercostal ribs showing. I know they're meant to be like abs, but it just looks like they've skipped too many meals. But we got this white costume Iron Fist at a time where we had moved beyond this. And at first glance, I thought, oh, it's not too bad. It's just a piece of Spider-Man body. Nah, they went and dug up this old relic and put Danny Rand on it. And for that, it definitely makes the list. Oh, Doctor Strange, man. I bet the Marvel Legends team were licking their lips when that movie came out, or at least when the trailers came out, and they saw, oh, he has like an astral projection thing. Welcome to Repaint City, brother. We ain't gotta do nothing. And they don't. Problem is, though, some of these aren't even technically accurate to the movie. There's going to be a few of these on the list as well, a few concept art type pieces. But Doctor Strange just getting recolored in astral form, don't tell me for a second that ain't the laziest stuff you've ever seen. And the fact he comes with a Build-A-Figure piece as well, I wouldn't mind. If he was a single figure, you know, he ain't hurting nobody. If you want to be a Doctor Strange completionist, if you want the Casper the Ghost, Marshmallow Man style Doctor Strange, that's okay. It doesn't even look like he's in astral form, though. It looks like someone's carved a Doctor Strange marble statue, which is kind of nice, I guess. It's not anything that appeared in the movie, but if you want him, or if you want the Build-A-Figure piece more specifically, you're going to have to get him. So shut your whining and buy this figure. If you want that Dormammu, which admittedly is pretty freaking cool, you're going to have to get this little lump of plastic too. This was a real interesting one that was suggested to me by one of the channel members in our brainstorming live stream. Black Knight from the Brood Queen Build-A-Figure wave. At first glance, this actually looks really cool. I like the Black Knight. I love the sword and sorcery kind of vibe to this character. And the Marvel Legends that they made like 10 years later was really great. This one visually looks the business. Nice new modern kind of take on the costume. A few extra accoutrements and bits and pieces. Problem is though, from what I'm told, the articulation ain't worth diddly. Yeah, you get next to nothing with this guy because it's like he's in a suit of armor. Like he just can't really move very well. So it's a good looking figure that I was always not really aware of. Can you always be not aware of something? I suppose so, until you're aware of it. Well, I was finally made aware of this. And when I was told it weren't very good. So because of that, he's going on the list. Gamerverse Miss Marvel. Don't think for one teeny tiny second that the entire Gamerverse ain't gonna get roasted at one time or another in this video, okay? So it's all coming along. Now it's Kamala Khan's turn. I always get Kamala and Kamala the wrong way around for the wrong people. This is Kamala Khan. Yeah? Okay, got it. Everybody got that? Okay, I think we're on track. Watch now when Dave wikis this after when he's doing the edit and he's like, oh, son of a biscuit, I got the wrong description after all. Well, hey, worst of Marvel Legends, very appropriate. All they did with this figure, though, was just take the original Miss Marvel figure. I'm just going to call her Miss Marvel from here on out. That's going to be a lot easier. They just took the original Miss Marvel figure and changed the boots. That's it. There you go. All right, ship it. I don't know, pal. I don't think anyone's going to really want this. Well, let's put a gigantic Build-A-Figure piece inside. That's actually one of the best Build-A-Figures we've ever made. I'll stand to that as well. I wasn't even mad about them re-releasing it for the Modern Abomination, even though the body doesn't match. I'm fine with it because it's wicked. So at least you can complete a good Build-A-Figure by getting a real below-average one. Not just an action figure, but a concept for action figures here. We have Magic the Gathering Agent Anti-Venom. Okay, so you got the normal Marvel Legends. How about we raise the price by $15? Well, whoa, if you're going to add nearly 50% to the cost of the figure, you better give us something good. A playing card. Oh, okay. I was hoping for something. I thought maybe an accessory, a Build-A-Figure piece, or a diorama. Nope. A playing card. But hey, if you play Magic the Gathering, this card could be like worth something. Cool. I don't play Magic the Gathering. And then there are people who will defend it going, yeah, but then you can just sell it online. If you don't want the card, just sell it online. Okay, that's great. That's what I want to do is I want to pay extra for an action figure and then have to jump through the rigmarole of doing extra work and business to claw back some of my money. No thanks, I'm good. And why did I choose Agent Anti-Venom? Because this dude, of all the figures to repaint and then jack up the price for, it's the one who has less articulation than any other modern Marvel Legend figure. The dude, when he originally came out in the regular Agent Venom, didn't have a waist swivel. And I'm the first person to be like, no, flat waist swivel. It's better than nothing. You know what's worse than that? Yeah, nothing. He has nothing. And what's so weird about the design of this figure is that there's nothing about it that would stop them from giving him some kind of ab crunch. The armor doesn't restrict it. There's nothing in the way. There's no design it breaks up. It's just not there. It's almost like it would take more money, time, and effort to not have it. But somehow they did it. So they took what could have been a pretty good character and then made him even worse. And then they gave him bright blue guns because I guess that's a thing in magic, maybe? Sure as heck doesn't look good on the action figure, though. TVA Loki. Loki, the god of mischief, the brother of Thor, the rightful heir of Asgard, if you ask him. And also, office worker. Yes, that's what we get with TVA Loki. One of those characters who kind of like homeless fisherman Sam Jackson. You think, would anyone have felt like their collection was incomplete if they didn't have Loki in business slacks? Probably not, yet here we are. And what makes it a little bit more egregious is that it has a Build-A-Figure piece as well. That's always going to stick in my craw a little bit. When you get something that is such a superfluous action figure and they throw a little bath piece in there to go, oh, you want to be a completionist? Gonna have to buy this, dude. So sad Disney Plus Loki is not anything that I would have ever had on my bingo card. When you talk about the downfall of the Marvel Universe, and don't get me wrong, because I love the MCU, and I'm looking forward to seeing it have a big comeback with Secret Wars, fingers crossed. But this is a figure that represents the low point, I feel, or one of the low points of the Disney Plus TV show era. And now we've got it in action figure form. Great. How about inducting an entire wave of figures? Oh yeah, we're going to do that. And it's not the Eternals wave. I'm talking about Spider-Verse Wave 2. What a grab bag of randomness this was. That wasn't even anything original, barely. All of these were pretty much just updates of the original wave. Also, it's great putting a wave in because I can fudge the numbers a little bit if I need to. I don't know if I've got 100 here. I think I have. Lord knows, we got a lot. But Wave 2 of Spider-Verse, you had Spider-Man 2099 again, but with a different head this time. You had Spider-Punk again, but in a different color, in mauve and pink this time. But he had a regular unmasked head, so if you want to have the proper one with the regular colors, but with the unmasked head, gonna have to buy this one again. Gwen Stacy as well. All these different characters that you already had in the first wave. Well, guess what? You can buy them all over again. A couple of unique characters in there, but generally it really did feel like Marvel Legends hadn't done their homework. And all of a sudden they were like, oh no, we have a new wave of figures we have to reveal. Well, what do we have around us? Well, we got the Spider-Verse. Just repaint it and ship it out again. Okay. Job's a good one. Oh, the ill-fated Gamerverse. No. Let me stop you there. Not the good Gamerverse. Not the Marvel vs. Capcom-inspired Gamerverse. I'm talking about Sony's Avengers Gamerverse. And lucky for me when making this list, these boys can take up quite a few spots because they are all terrible. But let me start with Captain America, okay? Or not Captain America. Temu Captain America. Poundland Captain America, for those of you in the UK. Or I would like to say, Mummy, can we get Captain America? No, son. We have Captain America at home. This is Captain America at home. What a terrible idea it was for the video game designers to say to themselves, okay, people love the MCU. We can't afford the actors' likenesses though. So let's just do an MCU kind of thing and we'll make the characters look a bit like them. Hey, shall we make them look a lot like them? No, we don't want to get sued. Let's make it look like celebrity impersonators that you might hire for a party who don't actually look very good, but if they wear all the costumes, then they'll kind of get away with it. Okay, so we'll have them wearing the costumes. Oh, Lord, no. No. We're going to design our own ones. Okay, but they'll be as cool as the MCU costumes. Again, you're barking up the wrong tree, pal. How? Just crappy. Just so crappy. Everything looked awful. And you know what? I can't fault the Marvel Legends team for this. They actually did a really great job at but recreating the existing looks. Problem was, though, the existing looks were awful. Nick Fury, not just a cool character, but Samuel L. Jackson, one of the coolest mofos on the planet. And you know him. He is the super spy who's always one step ahead of everybody and assembled Earth's mightiest heroes. So do you want to see him as a sad, homeless fisherman? Because that's what we got in the Secret Invasion Nick Fury. It's one of those figures, and there are a couple of these on this list, where you think, would anyone feel like their collection was not complete if they didn't have this? Like some hardcore MCU collector would be looking at his wonderful display of the entire Infinity Saga and think, man, if only I had homeless fisherman Nick Fury in the collection. You know what? I don't think there'd be many people who fit that description. And if there's one, then you're the problem, pal. It's because of you that we got this guy. A poet once said, "It's so hard to fall when you float like a cannonball." Well, this guy's quite hard to knock over and fall because he doesn't have feet. He just has a blasty base, and that's it. And yeah, that is technically what it's called, a blasty base. TM, trademark, model behavior. Cannonball, what a famously bad figure, but honestly one that I don't hate. Like the idea, the concept of this is good. If you included legs, like the actual, if this was an accessory, a swap out type part, this would genuinely, I think, be one of the best Marvel Legends, certainly of its age. What an extra bit of quality and value to give to a character who's not super mainstream, but they wanted to go the extra mile. But instead they were like, no, that's it. It's fine. Just give him the blasty base. That's all. And boy, I remember the internet let Hasbro know their feelings, because it was funny. Everything else is great. The sculpting, the look, Sam Guthrie, he looks the business. But you gotta give your characters legs. All right, that's all I'll say, lads. If you're making an action figure of a human, you gotta give them a lower half. And they eventually fixed that with the X-Force 3-pack. But by that point, it felt more like Damage Control. Avengers Endgame Captain America in his time-traveling suit or universe-traveling suit. There is a word for it, isn't it? I know, my brain's just gone to jelly because, to be fair, I've been filming this video for hours. And I don't know how long this is going to be, but it's a long time, and my brain's running on fumes right now. But Captain America in the suit that didn't exist, or the entire look that didn't exist. Once again, when you gotta get figures out to hit the release date of the movie, that means the best you can do is work with what you got. And unfortunately, what they had was some very out-of-date concept art that looked nothing like the actual suits they finally wore. I guess it is really difficult because from what I understand, and I might be misunderstanding, but the actual suits never existed physically. It was all CGI. So by the time the movie came out, they could have looked like anything. What they didn't look like was this. The fact that we've got Captain America in the suit, but with his old school Captain America helmet, like, nope. In the words of the dude from Unsolved Mysteries, it never happened. False. But hey, there you go. Stealth Captain Carter. This is a funny old one because you know what? I love the original Captain Carter figure. I think it's great. Peggy Carter in the wonderful, slightly animated Disney kind of style, but also Marvel Legendy enough that you could put her in with your 616 characters if you want to. Absolutely phenomenal. So take that figure and then just drain all the color and prettiness out of it. And you got Stealth Peggy Carter, another one of those ones that felt like the Marvel Legends team hadn't reached their quota of action figures that they have to put out each year. And they're like, man, we can't afford to do any new molds or any new sculpts. We got to put one more out. Well, just take all the color out of Peggy and put her out there again. And we got this, what we're looking at here. A lot of these figures were recommended to me by channel members. We had a channel member live stream. It was a whole blast because for about 2 hours, it was just me and about 100 other people roasting the Marvel Legends output of the last 25 years. And even though I would never have thought about Peggy Carter coming up as a suggestion, A couple of people said it, and I thought, you know what? Taking the beautiful original one and then just making it less, it's kind of like whizzing on a Picasso. So for that, she gets an induction. How about another bang up-to-date action figure? It is the Secret Wars wave Absorbing Man. This dude, at first glance, once again, is actually a pretty nice action figure. I think the face is pretty cool. Everything that is about his look is a good look. The problem is, though, he's not the Absorbing Man. He's just the man. And I don't mean like you the man. It's just like, no, he is a man. He's not the man. He's a man. A man action figure. Where is the absorbing in the Absorbing Man? I've been hoping for a new Absorbing Man action figure for the longest time because the old Build-A-Figure is actually really good. For its day, it desperately needed an update though. And we finally got it, and they just took all the fun out of the Absorbing Man and went, nope, just man. At the very least, if you wanted him in a depowered form, okay, I kind of get it. But then at least give him one other head where there's some kind of changing or morphing, or an arm, ideally. He's holding his wrecking ball. Give him something to show he is the Absorbing Man and not just the man. Because honestly, comparing this to the Build-A-Figure, even though it's out of date and a bit janky and some would argue too big, I like that size though. Nonetheless, I'm keeping that because that's fun. This is just a bald dude in stripy pants. I don't need that. Let's talk now about one that I was so salty about at the time, and now, 5 years later, I'm still salty. We're going to talk about the animated Hobgoblin. Talk about a downgrade of a figure. I could not believe it. When I was really at the peak of my Marvel Legends obsession, the Hobgoblin figure was one of the most expensive ones that I bought. It was kind of silly, but what can I say? It was lockdown. We were all looking for our dopamine and our little ray of sunshine wherever we could get it. And for me, it was completing my Spider-Man set. And I needed the Hobgoblin for that. So to that end, I spent a lot of money on getting that beautiful fish scale Hobgoblin with the Demo Goblin extra head. Oh, it was beautiful. So when I heard that they were going to be doing a new Hobgoblin, I thought, okay, well, first of all, this is great because it's going to give people a chance to buy it who don't have the money to buy the old one on the second-hand market. And then they give us this. And this is one of the biggest downgrades I've ever seen. The chainmail, gone. The extra head, gone. The same terrible tiny little glider, that's still there. And then they have the cojones, second time I've used that in this video, to say, oh yeah, but this is the animated version of the Hobgoblin, so it's okay. He didn't have the chainmail in the animated version. Okay. What about the glider? Oh, that's not animated. Oh, okay. What about the mask that he wears? Oh, no, that's not animated. Just the stuff that we can save money on. Okay? That's animated. But anything else, no, it is what it is. It's a Hobgoblin. Shut up. Shut up and buy it. No! If you're gonna say it's the animated style, then you gotta go all in. You can't just say the bits that we want to make cheaper, oh, that's because it's true to the cartoon. Bush League. Unbelievable. The cheek of it. The absolute nerve. Get out of here, Hobgoblin. Captain Marvel from the MCU, one of those characters who by her very nature is a little bit snake bit because she came in after the hype and hoopla at the very end, almost like doing a WrestleMania run-in and your debut at the same time in the main event. It's like, hey, wait, we haven't got to know you at all. Well, you had to learn pretty quick to get to love Captain Marvel, and they got their figures out just in time as well, coinciding with the movie, and once the accuracy ain't the problem. Once this one time, the accuracy is okay, except for the unmasked face, in which case I feel like, Brie Larson, why they gotta do you like that, huh? No wonder she seemed a little bit salty in some of the, promotional interviews around that time. She must have seen her action figure right before going out. So it's like, hey, Brie, tell us about your role in Captain Marvel. She's like, well, I want to, but I feel kind of bummed about my Marvel Legend action figure. Have you seen what they did to my face? That was just a little bit rude, quite frankly. a classic, slightly modern one. We've got Darwin, Anthony's Customs. Shout out to you, sir, for immortalizing the terribleness of this action figure. It's not like one specific thing is, oh, this implementation is awful. It's just, how bare bones do you want a figure to be? And once again, no, don't boo me. I know that it's great that we're getting a Darwin figure. I mean, that's cool. Not the most popular character in the world, but we got him. But do we really want him though, when he's this stripped down? One of the most old, antiquated bodies out there. Is it Pizza Spider-Man, just super skinny? And the problem with that super skinny body is that when you twist the waist and it's all that flat disc, like, it really does look bad. The actual face is okay, just that sort of alien-looking face. But then the whole point of Darwin is that his powers evolve. Whatever you throw at him, he will morph and evolve and mutate to counteract it. Well, I guess at this point, the character was having a stiff breeze thrown at him, and he was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't really need to do anything about this. It's a little bit of an Absorbing Man kind of thing, where he's like, no, I'm not actually going to use my powers. That would cost extra. This is the most basic look you can have. Plus, by the time he came out, this old skinny body with big old pins in it, it wasn't looking good. Darwin, if you ever want to hear a good opinion on it, watch Anthony's Customs. He's got you covered. You want to talk about the best and worst of Marvel Legends? We've got Chod, the Build-A-Figure. Fantastic. In the year of our Lord 2026, we're building the Starjammers, the old school 80s, 90s Starjammers. Yes, please. Oh, no, not like that. That's always the Marvel Legends fan talking, where it's like, please give me that. No, not like that, though. It's great that we've got Chod. Don't mind him being a Build-A-Figure because he's a big boy. But then you do it the cheapest way possible. You use the old Abomination body, which on its surface is like, you know what? That's not terrible. It's not perfect for Chod, but it's pretty close. And I'm happy that we're getting a Chod figure. So I guess if you take that body and then just like put some really nice paint on it and like give him some good accessories. Oh no, you're not going to do that. It looks really cheap because they just did it in green and gave him a head. And that's it. You could have actually really done a nice job because everything, it's just this green hue. But if you look at some nice artwork of Chod, then there's opportunities to throw in some yellow around like the lips and some of the gills. They could have put some more fins on him, just made him more dynamic, a more desirable figure. Because when you look at him in person, which I have, it's like, boy, that's just a lot of just a lump of green plastic, really. Also, kind of like doing Wolverine without his claws, or Captain America without his shield, or a Goblin without their glider. He doesn't have his big harpoon gun. And like, that's such a part of his character, especially when everything else is pretty much reused. You've just taken the old, and I do mean old, Abomination Build-A-Figure and redone it. At least give him like his big gun so he can look dynamic next to Corsair and the rest of the Starjammers. Nah, once again, bare bones. It's going to be one of those situations of, hey, you're getting a Chod figure, so shut up and like it. Well, there's one guy who doesn't know how to shut up. That's me. I don't know how to shut up, even when I should sometimes. Secret Wars, Captain America. It seems Captain America, he gets a lot of concept type figures. This one, a concept of a comic book look that never actually came to fruition. And please do help me if this does exist canonically somewhere, because to the best of my understanding from quizzing the model behavior brain trust and the hive mind, this was just concept art for a comic book series that eventually took the look in a different direction. And it's such a one-off, weird, random, out-of-the-box kind of thing to do. Because at this point, particularly in Marvel Legends, when this came out, there were so many characters and looks and styles and things that they could have done. They didn't need to scrape the bottom of a non-existing barrel to get this look for Captain America. And the fact it came with a Build-A-Figure piece, oh yeah, he's making the list. Even though, to be honest, I actually don't hate the look. It's kind of busy, but still, yeah, it's not awful. But the fact that it exists, oh, you're getting roasted. One of my favorite 90s characters, 90s extreme characters, Doppelgänger, the evil cosmic clone warped version of Spider-Man. So wicked. I absolutely love the design. And of course, he was part of Team Carnage in Maximum Carnage, has so much going for him. And we got this. The reused 6-arm body that was already so problematic in how it was put together. And then they just did that same thing again with new hands, feet, and head. And it's like, oh, he was so close to having something cool. Doppelganger's so cool. A monstrous version of Spider-Man with 6 arms and gnashing teeth and claws. No, it just looks rubbish. It's like the monstrous scariness loses all of its appeal when the arms are so skinny. And again, the head, it's just a roar. It's a wall of teeth. There's no individual fangs. There's no open mouth. It's just that's not scary. It doesn't look like anything. And then, of course, that body has no articulation in the abs, torso, and anything. Again, something they corrected later. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about that 6-armed Spider-Man, because as you can imagine, we might be hearing about that later. Avengers Endgame Captain America. Nope, not that Endgame Captain America. This Endgame Captain America. Man, poor old Cap. He just can't catch a break, can he? Once again, it's a simple case of concept art, or not even concept art, maybe just assumptions not coming to fruition. I won't linger too long because I'm going to repeat myself if we keep doing more of these concept art not looking like the reality, but they still need to be mentioned because this was not what Captain America looked like in Endgame. Not by a long shot. And once again, like Marvel Legends tend to do, they fixed it later down the line. But in the meantime, when this came out, and if you wanted to make that Thanos Build-A-Figure, you had to get a Captain America who you would not have seen hide nor hair of if you watched Avengers Endgame. One of my biggest disappointments and feelings of injustice was Age of Apocalypse Cyclops. Because you know what? When Age of Apocalypse came round, Scott Summers had kind of been established by the X-Men cartoon as a bit of a square, stick-in-the-mud kind of guy. He hadn't had the renaissance that we got from X-Men 97 and some of the other interpretations. So to have Age of Apocalypse take place where Scott Summers is the badass who got an eye gouged out while he blasted Wolverine's arm off, that is a wicked Scott Summers. And this is not that. This is receding hairline, something I know a lot about. Receding hairline, nothing going on in the face, plain Jane Scott Summers. This is so disappointing because Cyclops is one of the big money players in Age of Apocalypse. First of all, I love the fact that we got Age of Apocalypse waves. I know we're probably never going to get that again because from what I understand, they didn't sell well. But when you make figures like this, that's probably part of the reason. Because they did what they had to do an Age of Apocalypse Cyclops figure. They did what they had to do. And nothing else. The barest of bare bones. And one thing I will never understand is that when you're making a figure that's so bare bones, and then you choose to give it the most boring face as well, like you got to make a face one way or another. Like the face has to be sculpted. Like you can't just reuse something. You got to go for something new. Why go for something so boring? At least give him a sneer or like, did Hasbro have to pay the sculptor like by the intensity of the look? Is that what it is? From like boring nothing to some emotion, and they're like, okay, emotion's gonna cost you this. Like, okay, no emotion. We won't just boom. Nothing. Then the fact that his armored arm can't really articulate because the arm is sort of too thick on it. He has no boots, just a spandex onesie, which is not accurate. Maybe some artists drew him that way, but the majority of artists for the Age of Apocalypse drew freaking boots on him. Okay? Real bare bones, no optic blast effects, nothing. They did my man Scott dirty on that one. Hey, Monche, you want to play some hoops like we do down in the bayou in New Orleans? That was terrible. But so is this Gambit figure. So I might as well do the whole Gambit voice because it's as good as the action figure is. No, that was just full on. That wasn't Cajun, was it? That was just French. Oh, I am Gambit. I'm sorry, I'll stop. But by the time you've got to this point in the video, you're committed to it now. Like you either switch this off 30 seconds in or you're like, nope, 3 hours of Dave riffing. Let's do this. Well, here, mon cher, let's play shirts versus skins. How about we both skins, né? Né? That's Japanese. Oh my goodness. I'm reusing my languages. The Marvel Legends were reusing their bodies. Not even a Marvel Legends body, though. Starting lineup, the ill-fated basketball line of action figures that Marvel Legends were doing. We got starting lineup, shirtless Gambit. Because if you want to make your display look a little more sexy, mon cher, you need shirtless Gambit. No, we really don't. Oh, you know what? We might complain occasionally about Build-A-Figures, or then again, these days, the lack thereof. But man, back in the olden days, you used to get a Build-A-Figure that was like, the heck is this? What is this? A Build-A-Figure for ants? And in that regard, I give you Hitmonkey. And this ain't the only one like that, but it was certainly an egregious addition to the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure scheme to think that we went from Galactus and Fin Fang Foom and the Sentinel and Apocalypse to this. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, we need an incentive. We've got to make people, A, want to collect the entire line, and B, ideally, reward people for doing so. I know they don't want to reward us, but nonetheless, you got to give us something that we're like, yes, I will buy that figure that maybe I don't entirely want, but dang it, I need to get that Build-A-Figure complete. Hitmonkey. This big. That's it. Amazing. And it's one of those ones that really leans into the completionist. It's great having an action figure line that's geared towards hardcore fans, but that also means it's sometimes geared towards exploiting hardcore fans. And that's the exploitation of the hardcore fan there. It's like, you want Hitmonkey? You want this obscure little character? You freaking nerd? Well, you're going to have to buy the whole wave to get him. Yeah, that wasn't cool. Marvel Legends, we got you at your worst right here. Once again, you can't help yourselves. It's Hologram Iron Man. Because if there's one thing that the people were demanding, it's Hologram Iron Man. And when I say demanding, I mean never asked for once, I don't think. And if there is one person watching this who did, this one's on you, pal. You got a lot of nerve, Buster. And not only that, this is 616. Iron Man. This is comic book Iron Man. And yet it's not. This is an MCU Iron Man that they've done in a holographic form for reasons and then put in a Build-A-Figure wave, which was a really decent wave. If I do recall correctly, the Ursa Major wave was pretty darn good. And then there's this one, which once again, you gotta buy if you want the bath. And it's just an MCU antiquated old Iron Man body, but done in translucent plastic. Absolutely the definition of surplus to requirements, of wave filler. And what idiot bought it? Me. But at least I can make content out of it 5 years later. Marvel Girl, Jean Grey in her old school attire. This, no. I was going to say, this on the surface looks okay. No, it doesn't. The House of X wave, the Hoxpox wave, one that I was happy to let pass me by. I was like, I don't need this. There's only a couple of bangers in it. That Omega Sentinel, that was a banger. But this was a clanger. And I thought, I don't need to buy these. And then the Sentinel HasLab gets its box art revealed. What do I see before my eyes? The entire Hoxpox wave on the box. And I'm like, Marvel Legends, you got me. Okay, I'm all in on the Sentinel. I'll get the wave that goes with it. Big mistake on my part. That was my own silliness right there. And Jean Grey, one of the worst. First of all, once again, we have our scale of emotion. That clearly, the more emotion on the face, the more expensive it is. We're at a 0. If anything, the sculptor must have paid Hasbro, for the exposure. Because there's just nothing happening here. There's just nothing going on. But that's not the most egregious thing. The fact that she really just doesn't stand up. They've given her these teeny tiny little feet, teeny tiny little stiletto heels. To think she did such spectacular stunts with such little feet. Terrible. And she comes with a little cocoa flower pot. That's kind of a nice little accessory, but that alone does not make up for the absolute crumminess that was this Marvel Girl figure. What if Howard the Duck? I don't know, what if Howard the Duck? What if we made a Howard the Duck action figure with half the articulation that an action figure should have? Yep, below the waist, got nothing going on. And this is kind of egregious because you know what? I was just in a toy store the other day and I was looking at some of the Jakks-Pacific Sonic the Hedgehog figures. In fact, some of the Jakks-Pacific Sonic the Hedgehog figure DC mashup figures they were doing. Really great stuff. And you know what they all had in their knees? Articulation. Same thing that they had in their hips and their waist and everything else that moves below the waist. So what I'm saying is there is no excuse for doing a smaller character and just going, it's too small for articulation, just leave it off. No. Absolutely unacceptable. It's doable. I'm not out here saying like, oh, please give articulation to something that really can't handle it. No. This could handle it just fine. Y'all could have done it if you wanted to, but you're like, nah, it'll be fine. Just give him the top half and throw in a floating Paul Rudd head, because what collection is complete without a floating Paul Rudd head, I ask you? Man, this was once again cheaping out the worst way possible by literally just going, no, we just won't bother. Well, there you go. I sincerely hope no one else bothered buying this action figure. Anytime someone will knock Marvel Legends by saying, oh, it's always just Wolverine repaints and Iron Man repaints and Deadpool repaints, I'll be like, whoa, slow down. Look, it's not that bad. They need to do those because people buy them. If they didn't buy them, they wouldn't make them. You got to justify the lines, okay? And then all they have to do to counter my argument is go, Pirate Deadpool. And I'll be like, son of a gun, I knew you were going to call that. I knew you were going to bring that up. It's like arguing with an ex. It's like, I knew you were going to bring that back up. Pirate Deadpool is like the perfect example of Marvel Legends being like, it's Deadpool with a wacky new hat. Because that's what it is. And the funny thing, or what's almost more frustrating, is that this figure has so much sculpting in it, so much new stuff. Like, it's not just a repaint. They actually went pretty hard in putting the effort in to really give us a really great Pirate Deadpool. But I think even the most hardcore of Wade Wilson fans, if they were offered like, hey, do you want us to make a Pirate Deadpool figure? They might be like, no, I'm good. Maybe, something a bit more interesting or something, less ridiculous. No. Marvel Legends were all in. It's like, no, we're going all in on Pirate Deadpool. And again, threw in a Build-A-Figure piece. And Pirate Deadpool and the Build-A-Figure piece, like, one is not like the other. Pirate Deadpool, modern, wacky, silly. The Build-A-Figure piece, strong guy, classic, old school 90s X Factor. I know a lot of people who want to build that team who probably don't want a Pirate Deadpool. Well, guess what? Tough, because you're getting them. Rintrah from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. One of these days I want to do a top 10 Rintrah moments video where we can all sit down and reminisce about our favorite moments from Doctor Strange that involved Rintrah. There was that time when for a second you could see Rintrah in the background of that crowd scene, and then there was that other time. Oh no, wait, that's it. Yeah, this is another one of those examples where it's tough to blame the Legends team because maybe some joker, I think that's what it was, some practical joker, some prankster in the Marvel Legends or Marvel Multiverse of Madness movie production was like, hey guys, you gotta make a big expensive Rintrah figure because this character, they're gonna blow up when this movie comes out. They're like, really? Oh yeah, absolutely. So they make this quite elaborate Build-A-Figure Rintrah figure for a character who appears for about 3.5 seconds in Multiverse of Madness. No speaking lines, no actual plot importance whatsoever. But did you have to buy a whole wave of figures to build him? Yes. I sincerely hope that no one felt compelled to do that. Malibu Stacy with a new hat. We've done this a few times when I'm talking about the reference. Well, I'm doing it again because we have not hologram, AI Iron Man. This version of Iron Man was one that we got in the 80th anniversary wave, and it was real nice. It had the unmasked Tony Stark head. It had the chrome metallic looking paint job. It was a real labor of love celebrating 80 years of Marvel. And then they redid it a couple of years later like this. And it's like, ha ha. What are we doing here, lads? So let's take away all the cool chrome paint. You know what? I kind of accept. If you're going to redo it, do make it look different. All right? So instead of the chrome, go for the bright, bold, comic booky ketchup and mustard. I'm actually okay with that. But then why give him a blue repulsor ray? That's not a thing. If someone didn't get the 80th anniversary one and they wanted this armor, then it's like, yay, but also no, because that what's up with that? And then you're throwing in an AI Tony Stark head because that is something that we get every now and then, I suppose. Yeah, just feels like a real surplus to requirements type action figure, and another one that brought down an otherwise pretty good wave. Iron Patriot. I tell you what, I'll always have a little bit of an axe to grind against Iron Patriot, especially the fact that it's coming out in an Iron Man 3 wave because of Iron Man 3. Because that movie it really does hash my potatoes. That was one of the first Marvel Universe movies that I watched, and I was like, oh no, I don't like this, because they had been on a tear. Even Thor the Dark World, I got enjoyment out of, but Iron Man 3 was the first movie where I was like, I am actively not enjoying this movie. This is a movie that doesn't like the MCU, doesn't like its audience, is in fact kind of making fun of them. And also, you cannot, this is not a roasting of the Iron Patriot figure, this is a roasting of Iron Man 3. You cannot make fun of your audience and make an incompetent movie at the same time, all right? You have to be really good if you're gonna make fun of someone else, okay? Says the guy making a video making fun of Marvel Legends. Thin ice over here at Model Behavior. But the movie, the plot holes were terrible. The plot holes were gigantic. You could fly a Iron Patriot armor through them. But then we got this Iron Patriot action figure. And he's just so small. He's so petite. I guess it's because he's done in the Iron Man 3 wave. They're kind of like MCU scale figures. So he's done in that kind of scale, but then the comic book figures are bigger. So when I put him in my Dark Avengers display, as I know many people probably did, he just looked so diminutive that you thought, you know what? This ain't it. But for the longest time, that was all we had. The Iron Skull. Another one of those figures where you could just tell the Marvel Legends team were looking around the warehouse being like, we got to do an extra figure for this wave. We can't make anything new. What have we got? What's lying around? We got an MCU Iron Man body. Okay, that's something. And there's a couple of leftover Red Skull heads. There you go. Iron Red Skull. How about that? And everyone was like, yeah, come on. We want to beat the traffic. Let's go. Put it in the box. Boom, you got the Iron Skull. Not a bad concept of a character. And I think like there is comic book, reference for this. Like the Iron Red Skull, that is a thing, right? I'm going to find out more in the edit when I actually look up some Google images and I'm like, Iron Red Skull, there must be something somewhere. I don't remember reading it, but hey, look, I haven't read every single Marvel comic book in existence. But what I do know is that even if I did, and I did find a comic in which we got the Iron Red Skull, I bet the Iron Man armor would look pretty different, wouldn't it? Because it wouldn't be the MCU armor, would it, you cheeky little buggers? But guess what? That's what this is. Definitely feels like a thrown together figure with a Build-A-Figure piece, of course. Shoddy effort, if you're asking me right here, which is what I'm doing because it's my video. Jubilee Build-A-Figure. Those two phrases don't go together, or at least they shouldn't, because Jubilee, cute little single human being girl. Build-A-Figure? Oh, big, huge, hefty, impressive looking figure. One of these things is not like the other. Just like a previous entry on this list, the Build-A-Figure should have some chonk. It should have some heft. It should have some oomph. It should be something that maybe isn't practical to sell on its own because, you couldn't fill up shelf space with something that big. Unless, of course, it's Jubilee, who is, by her very nature, a small human character. making that a Build-A-Figure, egregious, I tell ya. And that's something I got to give as a little caveat. I don't hate this figure. It's kind of nice. I like the black jumpsuit, the vampire-style Jubilee look. That's pretty cool. But doing it as a Build-A-Figure, nah, unacceptable. Could you tell what figure I'm doing? it's the Paul Rudd Ant-Man and the Wasp Ant-Man figure. Paul Rudd, a man who is aging like a fine wine. I'm pretty sure he's a vampire. Halloween 5, was it? I remember watching in the early 90s with Paul Rudd looking exactly the same as he does today. Yet somehow we get this as his Marvel Legend figure. Terrible. Like, in what frame of the movie does he pull that face? I don't know. I'm sure Paul Rudd is such a cool cat. He doesn't even care. Someone showed him that. He's like, oh, neat. That's my action figure. If it was me, though, I'm like, I'm in the MCU. I'm finally getting a face. Actually, the face scans, like the head sculpts are scanned, aren't they? So Paul Rudd must have sat there and gone, meh. Yeah, that guy's such a joker. I bet he was playing a who can pull the silliest face contest with someone. Well, congratulations, Paul. You won. The Maestro. Oh, this is Marvel Legends at their most Marvel Legendy. This is, let's find the source material that we can use to do the cheapest version of this character possible. The Maestro is the future Incredible Hulk who rules over a devastated world and has a trophy room and even adorns himself with the remnants of old heroes. Iron Man's mask, Ultron's head, Captain America's shield. And then we get this. The Maestro who woke up after a long night of partying is like, dude, where's my shirt? Oh, guys, I'm not mad at reusing the 80th Hulk body. That's a big, huge, beefy body. But then they must have gone, we don't want to redo his trousers. And then they were like, nope, don't worry. I found a story. Old Man Logan, the Maestro, I tell you what, whoever found this got a raise. He's like, not only does he wear ripped pants, but there's no decorations at all. There's no crown. There's no cape. There's nothing. He's got some little circles around his neck. That's it. 5-star. Give can of Coke to that man right there. We can do the Maestro, the most stripped down version imaginable, and sell it to these idiots here. This guy will spend $30 on it, and then later down the road, can put some effort into it, and we'll sell it again. Brilliant. All right, there you go. Brand new head, Bosch, Maestro. Terrible. Sometimes you're close to actually having a really cool action figure, and then there's just a couple of little bits that totally throw it off. And in the case of this X-Men 97 Magneto, what is up with these gorilla arms? I have to admit, I wouldn't have noticed this at first until people pointed it out to me. I didn't like this figure because he's got the red gloves, which just throws off the whole aesthetics of the look. That's not Marvel Legends' fault, though. That's X-Men 97. For whatever reason, someone was like, no, I got to put my own stamp on this Magneto. It's got to be my special look. Let's give him red gloves. Okay, fine, mate. Whatever makes you happy. But then when we got this figure, ridiculous long, lanky monkey arms. And believe me, I have long, lanky monkey arms. I know what that looks like. And this is not what you want an action figure to be. When the inevitable Dave model behavior action figure comes out, I'm going to be speaking to the sculptors. I'll be like, lads, could you take an inch or so off the arms? Otherwise, it's just going to look gangly and stupid. And they'll be like, oh, you mean like the X-Men 97 Magneto? I'm like, yes, I don't want to look like that because that looks dumb. Terrax and, what's his name? It's the Heralds of Galactus 2-pack. Terrax and Blobblejob. I'll look up his name later. Terrax and Blobblejob. What a 2-pack this is. First of all, this was at a time where Hasbro were being a little bit sneaky. I don't think they meant to be. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But we went through a wave, an era of having pictures of figures that didn't match what the actual figure was. In Terrax's case, we had a picture of a figure that looked to have new sculpting, new legs, no pins, very up to date. And what we got was not that. It was the same old Terrax figure that we had had years ago. The new improvements, the quality of life upgrades, weren't there. So that was a little bit of a being sold a bill of false goods. What we saw was not what we got, and this was particularly egregious because it came out during the era of the no plastic time, when you know that wonderful halcyon time where everything was sealed behind a cardboard box and the figures inside were wrapped up in paper body bags. Man, who would have thought that wouldn't last? So yeah, Terrax was below par, and then we had Blobby Job. Oh, Fallen, that was it. The Fallen one, that was him. Not Blobbyson. The Fallen one was apparently just Agent Gumby. Agent Gumbo over here. I saw so many pictures that people posted of his legs all twisted out of proportion, the knees going out to the sides. Don't know why, but for whatever reason, this dude was just like a squeegee dog toy that had been left in the sun, and just he was just bent all out of proportions. Terrible look for a 2-pack. Definitely, if I was in charge of Marvel Legends, I would have said, lads, go back and do it again, because this, unacceptable. And now we've got Ultimate Wolverine, not the most modern Ultimate Wolverine, but the old one. You got to think about the new one and go back to the early 2000s when we had edgy Ultimate Wolverine. Looking back at the old Ultimate Universe, there was a lot of bad stuff in there. Ultimate Spider-Man was good. Ultimate X-Men was just so edgelord, just nonsense. There was a lot of bad stuff in there. That was before we got to Ultimatum, but we had Ultimate Wolverine, who had a soul patch and was younger and more cool and badass. Because that was always the problem with Wolverine, wasn't it? He wasn't cool and badass enough. So it was a dodgy character, but then we got this action figure, which, what is going on with this Ultimate Wolverine face? Looks like Bruce Campbell from Army of Darkness when he gets his face sucked into the Necronomicon. He pulls it out and he's like, terrible. What? Okay, I'm doing all of these entries are based on, kind of like at the time, because it's not fair to say like, oh, well, this figure from 2006 doesn't look good. Well, it's from 2006, but there are some that looked bad even at that time. And this is one of them. You take the cooler, more badass version of Wolverine and then do the derpiest looking action figure of him. Terrible. It's time to dip our toe back into Gamerverse Corner with Starburst Iron Man. Once again, an action figure that by its very nature of an action figure is not bad. It's a well-sculpted, well-put-together, nicely painted, whole bunch of accessories type action figure. The more that I talk about it, the more I think, maybe I shouldn't have included this. Maybe I'm just being a little bit mean at this point, or maybe I'm desperately trying to find 100 figures. But it's the fact that it's completely inessential and part not of a deadline. Well, yeah, but like a line that was dead on arrival. The Sony Gamerverse line was DOA. If anyone saw these and thought, oh, I'm going to be able to collect the entire wave of Avengers when they bring out Thor and Black Widow, I don't know how you were trying to convince yourself that was ever going to happen. And I can't help but feel that by the time this Starburst Iron Man came out, they must have known that they had already pulled the plug on this line. So I swear the Sony Gamerverse Avengers, their bodies were getting cold, all right? Rigor mortis was setting in, and yet Hasbro was still like, well, let's just pump out one more Iron Man. Yeah, come on, let's do it. You know, when you knock down action figures, they get back up. When I put them down, they stay down. That was my Frank Castle there. And this is Marvel Legends Frank Castle. Funny thing is, this figure has been generally getting pretty positive reviews, and I understand that. There's a lot of nice stuff going on here. And then if you take it from the boots up, everything looks decent, and then you get to the John Bernthal. I always get that wrong. John Bernthal, that's it, yeah? When you get to his Chevy Chase, it looks like he's about to burst into tears. And that's the problem right there. Frank Castle, the big, mean, badass Punisher, looks like you just told him that you ran over his kitten. And the way his eyebrows are kind of like going up into the center, it looks like he's got a lump in his throat and he's forcing back tears. And I'm like, there's no crying in the Punisher. Actually, there is crying in the Punisher. There was a lot of crying in that Netflix series. I so prefer Daredevil now that it's on Disney Plus. You got a bit more kind of fun and action. The Netflix one just felt like a slog to get through. I'm like, oh, everything's so miserable. If this was Netflix Punisher, I could kind of go with that a little bit more. But this is Disney Plus Punisher, and it looks like you just told him that he waited in line for the roller coaster and they're closing it before he can get on. That's not how Frank Castle should look, so for that, he makes the list. You know, sometimes a classic character will get a costume redesign, and it actually is a fun reinterpretation of what we had before that brings that character into a new, modern, fresh kind of look. And then we have this Miles Morales, which is not that. I don't know who it was that redesigned this character, but man, it was a swing and a miss. Taking what was a cool reinvention of the Spider-Man suit that had a hearkening resemblance to the Peter Parker costume, but then really modified and changed to be specifically for Miles. Taking that and then throwing a giant onesie hoodie over the top of it, and sneakers as well. Sneakers on spider characters. How are you going to be wall crawling with that, pal? That's not Marvel Legends' fault. But they did make an action figure of it. So you're going to get roasted regardless. So the huge, big, cumbersome hoodie top, which again, like, you're going to try and fight crime in that? You're going to swing around New York City in the peak of the summertime wearing a giant hoodie? It's going to get a little bit musty up in there. But by the very nature of that, that means you ain't getting no torso articulation with this action figure. It's all being restricted by that. And also, this figure came from a wave. That was a bad wave of figures. More on that later. But as a redesign from what was a cool costume to something that just ain't it, that's what we're looking at here. I think this look lasted for about a week. Maybe a couple of weeks tops. And then Miles very quickly went back to his decent-looking spider gear. Misty Knight, what a shame this was. The ingredients of this figure were all good. Part of the Rhino wave as well, one of the best Marvel Legends waves from back in the day. This figure, first of all, it's a character who wasn't super mainstream, but we got her as a deep-cut comic book fan, bit of a treat to us Marvel comic book fans. So that was great. She had the handgun. It was all in gold and chrome, looking the business in her old school jumpsuit. And then she's totally cross-eyed. What happened there? I feel bad. I feel bad for the Marvel Legends team. I really do. Because obviously she wasn't designed that way. Of course she wasn't. But something must have happened at the factory. And I've heard stories from toy designers telling me these exact things where they will put so much love, care, attention, and effort into designing a figure. And then it goes to the factory. And once it's gone to the factory, it's in the lap of the gods. You just got to hope that it comes back looking the way that you designed it. And with this wasn't a one-off. This wasn't Dave just unfortunately getting a figure that had bad paintwork. This was across the board. Poor old Misty Knight had a lazy eye that just completely threw off the entire aesthetics of the figure. What should be one of the coolest, most badass urban noir kind of characters. I was trying to think about Marvel Knights. That's what I was getting at. Occult type, on the streets, sort of just a wicked, cool character. Then looks like they're trying to hunt for birds and raccoons at the same time. I don't know. It didn't work. It really didn't work. God bless you for trying, but that was a swing and a miss. Super Skrull Reed Richards, a character that at a glance actually looks real nice. The blue and black costume I thought was a really cool modern take on the Fantastic Four. Then the sculpting and detail on the boots as well. I love what they were doing with that. You would think, okay, no, that's a good Reed Richards. And then I assume we're going to be reusing the Walgreens bendy wire stretchy arms because those were fantastic. Oh no, those cost money. We're not going to do that again. Oh, okay, well, what are you going to do? Maybe like an extra long neck or something, a little thing you can swap out? Well, we're going to do something you can swap out. What is that then? Diddler hands. What? Yeah, salad tong fingers. What? How can I explain this to you better? Sometimes Reed Richards wants to grab for something, but he doesn't want to extend his arm fully. So he'll just keep his elbows bent and then just use his fingers to grab things. What? I'm running out of words. I mean, to be fair, I've done about 70 entries by this point. But of all the ways of demonstrating Reed Richards' powers, you have Salad tong fingers, diddler fingers. What? That is not okay. It's almost like sometimes you'll see things in Marvel Legends where you feel it's just done to spite the people who are buying it. It's like, oh, you want a power effect? You want a power effect? Fine. Here, have a power effect. There you go. You can't say we didn't give you one now. I wish you hadn't. And it's not only that, but it's the fact that this was the start of Salad Tong Finger Reed, which was so great, they reused it in the next one. No, this is something that never should have happened. Epic Heroes Mystique. What a deep cut this one is. Not from the classic old Toy Biz line, but from those awkward teenage transitionary years of Marvel Legends. One of the reasons someone suggested this is because it should have been so much better. Because this look for Mystique is cool. Yes, of course, we all love the white dress with the skulls, but sometimes you want a more contemporary, up-to-date design. And Mystique in her black leather two-piece, yeah, that's kind of wicked right there. But this figure, she's langly-bangly, man. She's all arms and legs and knees, and it just looks like a marionette puppet. And I know that there are a few characters on this body, so maybe it's a little bit mean to call out Mystique, but I gotta pick someone. Them's the rules. I don't know. I don't make them. It's not my channel. It's not up to me. There are powers that be that reside over this, and they said you gotta pick one of them. And someone in the channel members section suggested Mystique. So Mystique, you're getting both barrels for this one. It's a real shame that we probably won't see this design in action figure form again. So the one that we got was just this weird marionette-looking body. Not a good look for Raven Darkholme. And unfortunately, I think it's the only version of this look that we're ever gonna get. Hulk redundant. Yeah, a redundant version of the Hulk. Outback Hulk, once again, such a funny one, because even people who maybe played Sony's Avengers, you know, the 5 people that played it, maybe you played it and you were like, oh, this Outback Hulk is quite a fun look. I'm sure that you weren't thinking, but man, I'd really love an action figure of him. Well, someone thought that, and again, this feels like one of those obligation type things, but that's not even it. Even if Marvel Legends were obligated to give us a Gamerverse Hulk figure, why go for the obscure repaint look first? You all you had to do, if you thought that maybe, I don't know, maybe this game's not going to be the big success that everyone thinks it is, then just give us the core team then. If you don't think this is going to have legs, then just reward the people who are buying them by giving them the Avengers. And instead, we got 2 Captain Americas, we got 3 Iron Men, I think, no Thor, no Black Widow. we got 2 Hulks, neither of which was classic Hulk. That's the most egregious thing. They were clearly thinking, well, we'll get to proper Hulk eventually, right, lads? Because this game's going to run and run. Yeah, no. So instead of actually getting the proper Hulk, we got Joe Fixit and we got Outback Hulk. Hey, look, even if it was classic Green Hulk, it's not like they would have completed the team anyway. So yeah, enjoy having a random skin from a game that lived for about 3 months. The Red Goblin. This is actually a good example of what Marvel Legends can do so well, which is giving us a fantastically obscure variant of a character. I love that. The Red Goblin really only existed for one Spider-Man story. It was a heck of a story. Norman Osborn getting the Carnage symbiote? Yeah, that's a match made in hell. That's awesome. And they actually did a nice bit of sculpting with this guy, giving him the big tail, giving him the unique head, which honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of that because they tried to incorporate the Carnage white eyes into the Goblin mask, and it just looked like he had big, bushy Father Christmas eyebrows. But besides that, that was pretty great. But then he's a goblin that doesn't have a glider, and that just kind of kills it right there. It feels so incomplete. It's like giving us Captain America without a shield or Wolverine without claws. It's like, this is kind of an important thing. And I understand if you're doing an obscure character, maybe you feel like, no, we need to keep the costs down on this one. But just having the Goblin without the Goblin glider, it's not a complete figure, especially that this came out at the time when they did the amazing Demo Goblin Build-A-Figure, who had a fire glider that was very similar to the Red Goblin's glider, so much so that many hardcore collectors like me just bought another one of those to put him on. All they really had to do was take that glider and give it a different coat of paint, and you've pretty much got the Goblin's glider. But you know what's cheaper than doing that? Nothing. And that's what they did. Taking a jaunt back over to the MCU, we got David Harbour's Red Guardian, and it's not good. I was trying to be more articulate there, but sometimes the simplest explanation is the best one to go for. It's the Red Guardian who doesn't look like what is on the box, because as handsome a fellow as David Harbour is, I think most people would probably like him in his full costume, which is not what this is. No Red Guardian mask, even though that's how he looks on the box that he comes with. So I think actually in one of the reviews I was watching to get the footage for this video, the reviewer said, he doesn't have the mask, it's inevitable they're going to do a 2-pack with him with the mask later. Congratulations, mysterious Nostradamus. You were right, because this is once again one of those Marvel Legends stopgaps, where they know that, okay, if people are going to be into this line or they want to be a completionist, they're going to buy this, then they're going to get the one with the helmet. We're going to double our money. Well, congratulations. I hope you spent it well, because whoever bought this figure, they didn't spend theirs well. Infinity War Iron Man, another one of those characters that was clearly based off of maybe one picture that the poor lads at Marvel Legends team were given to reference. They were like, hey, obviously we're going to have to make an Iron Man figure. Can you let us know what he's going to look like in the movie? They're like, well, we'll let you know how he looks a bit, I guess. So they got this super stripped down version of Iron Man. Apparently, from what I've been told, because again, a lot of these were suggestions from the model behavior audience, it wasn't so much the look, because yes, it is missing everything as far as weapons and accessories are concerned, but that is what the base bodysuit of Iron Man does look like, pretty much. But the articulation is quite janky in this, because it is a very unusual Iron Man design, where they've gone like sort of super skin tight with it. And I guess the team putting the figure together didn't quite see how it was going to move on camera, and the figure itself then gets a little bit of jank. But really, it's then watching the movie and being like, oh wow, like the arm cannons, the back piece, like none of it. It's just Iron Man in a morph suit, basically. And of course, like so many other figures from lines and movies like this, you were gonna get the proper version eventually, but not until you've eaten your crappy version vegetables. Then you can have your good version dessert. Of course, one of the most maligned waves of action figures from Marvel Legends is the Inhumans wave, simply because no one cared about it. Not many people went to see the movie. I mean, it was pretty snake bit coming out at the time that it did. But also, yeah, the bloom was off the rose for the Marvel Universe, and yet the Inhumans got an entire wave of figures. But the thing is, all of them are actually pretty well made. The amount of tooling and design and sculpting and paintwork, like it's all nice. It's just for a movie that no one cared about. So they're still lining pegs to these days. So I'm not going to include the whole wave though, because the quality is there. Except for Salma Hayek's Ajax. That was one, not Ajax, Ajax with a hard K. This is one that even Salma Hayek herself roasted on, was it Kimmel or Fallon? She literally held up her action figure and she was like, look at this. Do I look like this? And if you can make one of the most beautiful women in the world look like this, then you've done something wrong right there. Maybe that was the fool's errand you were on, trying to capture the beauty of Salma Hayek in action figure form. It's just not possible, as clearly evidenced by this figure. Now time for an oldie but a goodie. We have got the Riders Scarlet Witch from Toy Biz. The good old days of Marvel Legends. Well, the good old days weren't always that good, because we got some figures like this. Now, the actual ingredients are beautifully perfect. We got an action figure. We got a big diorama prop for her. We got a comic book. We got a trading card. This is what it should be. Like Steve Martin in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, I'm looking at this going, this is what I want. Except for the face on that figure though. State of your face, mate. This is not a good looking Scarlet Witch. I'm not sure what they were going for, because she looks so, ooh, I was like, oh, am I supposed to be fighting people? I don't think I should be here. I don't know what they were trying to create with the sculpting. And again, you don't always know how something is going to go from the sculptor's chair to the factory. Sometimes things get lost in translation. I hope that was the case for this, because if they designed Scarlet Witch to look like this, that's not a good look for Wanda. So this actually is one of the more classic, famous, bad Marvel legends, but it's a bad Marvel legend with a lot of heart to it, because it's from a golden era and a simpler time, and definitely simpler faces. A classic, slightly modern one, we've got Darwin, Anthony's Customs. Shout out to you, sir, for immortalizing the terribleness of this action figure. It's not like one specific thing is, oh, this implementation is awful. It's just, how bare bones do you want a figure to be? And once again, no, don't boo me. I know that it's great that we're getting a Darwin figure. I mean, that's cool. Not the most popular character in the world, but we got him. But do we really want him, though, when he's this stripped down? One of the most old, antiquated bodies out there. Is it Pizza Spider-Man, just super skinny? And the problem with that super skinny body is that when you twist the waist and it's all that flat disc, like, it really does look bad. The actual face is okay, just that sort of alien-looking face. But then the whole point of Darwin is that his powers evolve. Whatever you throw at him, he will morph and evolve and mutate to counteract it. Well, I guess at this point, the character was having a stiff breeze thrown at him, and he was like, yeah, I'm good. I don't really need to do anything about this. It's a little bit of an Absorbing Man kind of thing, where he's like, no, I'm not actually going to use my powers. That would cost extra. This is the most basic look you can have. Plus, by the time he came out, this old skinny body with big old pins in it, it wasn't looking good. Darwin, if you ever want to hear a good opinion on it, watch Anthony's Customs. He's got you covered. You want to talk about the best and worst of Marvel Legends? We've got Chod, the Build-A-Figure. Fantastic. In the year of our Lord 2026, we're building the Starjammers, the old school 80s, 90s Starjammers. Yes, please. Oh, no, not like that. That's always the Marvel Legends fan talking, where it's like, please give me that. No, not like that, though. It's great that we've got Chod. Don't mind him being a Build-A-Figure because he's a big boy. But then you do it the cheapest way possible. You use the old Abomination body, which on its surface is like, you know what? That's not terrible. It's not perfect for Chod, but it's pretty close. And I'm happy that we're getting a Chod figure. So I guess if you take that body and then just like put some really nice paint on it and like give him some good accessories. Oh no, you're not going to do that. It looks really cheap because they just did it in green and gave him a head. And that's it. You could have actually really done a nice job because everything, it's just this green hue. But if you look at some nice artwork of Chod, then there's opportunities to throw in some yellow around like the lips and some of the gills. They could have put some more fins on him, just made him more dynamic, a more desirable figure. Because when you look at him in person, which I have, it's like, boy, that's just a lot of just a lump of green plastic, really. Also, kind of like doing Wolverine without his claws, or Captain America without his shield, or a Goblin without their glider. He doesn't have his big harpoon gun. And like, that's such a part of his character, especially when everything else is pretty much reused. You've just taken the old, and I do mean old, Abomination Build-A-Figure and redone it. At least give him like his big gun so he can look dynamic next to Corsair and the rest of the Starjammers. Nah, once again, bare bones. It's going to be one of those situations of, hey, you're getting a Chod figure, so shut up and like it. Well, there's one guy who doesn't know how to shut up. That's me. I don't know how to shut up, even when I should sometimes. Grey She-Hulk. Because, you know, all the Marvel Legends fans were begging and pleading for a She-Hulk. We were like, oh, it's been so long since we had Jennifer looking mean and lean and green. And Hasbro were like, what's that? Lean and mean. Oh, we can do that. We're like, no, green. Oh, no. You intentionally didn't hear that, did you? And I'm sure that the Legends team were like, oh, it's okay. We'll get to green eventually in one way or another. What do you mean by that? Oh, just you wait and see. So first of all, we got this body, which was actually, again, like, I don't hate this body. It's great that we've got like a larger, athletic, muscular kind of like body, but it's just... Grey She-Hulk existed for a couple of comics here and there, and you haven't got like a costume. It's just ripped up clothes. It just really feels like this doesn't really do what we want it to do. We wanted a She-Hulk and you gave us one, but you kind of spited us with it too. And then when you did give us a green She-Hulk, it was this same one, but in green. Unbelievable. We finally got the She-Hulk that we wanted, but man, we had to buy a lot of action figures to get there. And again, I know no one put a gun to our head to buy it, but come on. Some of you might have thought that this one was coming, and you were right to do so. It is X-Factor Jean Grey, which is one of those frustrating ones. You know why it's so frustrating? Is because it's actually a really good figure. Mainly the head sculpts. I think both of those head sculpts, giving us real unique looks for each one, that's fantastic. You're giving us a more obscure wave of the X-Men as well. The original 5 who started X-Factor in their unique costumes. That's terrific. You gave her a little power effect as well, some different hands. And then you forgot to paint her boots. And it's like, how did that slip through the cracks? I'm more not angry. I'm disappointed for you guys because you made a really good figure. And we got Cyclops to go with her as well. Iceman, yeah, you can throw him in. Like the Angel, he goes with that too. We could ideally get a furless Henry McCoy. But basically what I'm trying to garble my way through is that we've got X-Factor. That's great that we've got X-Factor. And all you had to do was just dip the figure in some yellow paint and she'd have her boots. It wouldn't be so bad if the artwork on the box didn't get it right. You know, it's like, that's how she should look. That's not how she looks, though. And I remember when they first debuted it, people were commenting like, you are going to do the boots, though, aren't you? Like, this is a prototype, right? You are going to go back and fill in the boots. And I remember on the live streams, the guys just like understandably ignoring the questions. They're like, yeah, Jean Grey, there she is. Perfect in every way. No, she wasn't. You know, sometimes with Marvel Legends, you actually get to be a part of the creative process because you get to buy a figure and then go, yeah, this ain't really working. Can you go back and try again, please? That's what we got with Six-Armed Spider-Man. Once again, one of those cool things where it's like, we've got Six-Armed Spider-Man, a great little part of Spider-Man history, but not like this. Not where they're reusing the Amazing Spider-Man 2 body and then just jimmying 4 arms onto him. And of course, I'm sure that in the design stage, they were like, well, we can do that, but it's not going to work because if we put the arms on there, he's not going to be able to move his torso at all. And someone else went, it'll be fine. It wasn't. It was bad. Also, considering the fact that this was the Spider-Man that would still have the big pins in the elbows that are not the same color as the blue, it's red instead. That was a bad time. That was a bad time for Spider-Man. We got a whole bunch of Spider-Man figures with blue arms and red pins. Really threw everything off. That was a remnant of a bygone era. But I'm very glad that we're past that. And one thing that was actually doubly frustrating for me was I love the colors of this Spider-Man. Finally, we got the bright blue, the bright red. That was lovely. But this whole implementation, yeah, go back, try again. Because when they did, they actually did it really well. Deapool Logan from Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie has given us such an interesting variety of figures. Some of them great, some of them kind of head-scratching, such as this version of Wolverine. I know what you're thinking. Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, super cool, badass, but don't you want just a figure of him wearing casual clothes, looking old, tired, and sad? No, me either. Not particularly, but you've got him. This is another one of those figures that isn't too offensive because it's not like it's got to build a figure because heaven forbid we get to build a figure. But it's the fact that he's just Wolverine in casual, sad old man clothes. They look like Xavier's hand-me-downs from the Logan movie. But of course, because he's wearing his costume underneath it, he's got the X-Men Wolverine boots on. It looks weird. It looks so dumb and odd. But it exists. And like I said, I'm not really mad at it because, like so many figures, no one's forcing you to buy it. But also by its very existence, it's one of those ones that's like, this is a funny old hobby that we have, isn't it? One of my favorite, not obscure characters, but not main event characters is Songbird. I love her arc from the start of the Thunderbolts, being a villain, but then finding her conscience, being a part of like the rehabilitation of the team, and then acting as the moral compass of the Thunderbolts going forward in all the different iterations. Definitely worthy of a great Marvel legend. And we're still waiting for it. And what's frustrating about this one is they've got some nice work in there. Mainly the huge, big, pink sonic projection of the bird behind her. Oh, that's wonderful. But yes to that. No to everything else. It's a real shame because that single piece really beautifully done, but everything else was really cheaped out on. The body is just painted with the costume, that's okay. But one of the biggest parts of her power set is the collar that she wears around her neck that allows her to turn her screams into physical projections. And that is quite a detailed, nicely designed piece of armor and equipment that she wears. And Hasbro just went, okay, we got to find some more source material of where it looks cheaper. You know, they found like a little necklace will do, a very basic bare bones necklace, but at least the face looks good, right? I mean, at least the face looks good, right? No. Once again, not only is it a blank expression, but it's again from this era where it's the shop store mannequin. It's the blow up sex doll. It's the just look like what's going on here? Songbird is meant to be like a beautiful character. She's not femme fatale, but she's got one of those good girl like looks. Like oh, you're a heroine, you're a heroic character. You got that sort of rogue kind of element. No, this is just shop store mannequin. Songbird, terrible, absolutely, real shame. And also that kickstarts my second annoyance of the rest of the Thunderbolts. Where are they? We got Songbird, we got Citizen V, Mark 1, and that's it. Oh, Marvel Legends, come on. I know that by the time you bring out any more Thunderbolts, the old one's going to be out of date, but can we at least try? Speedball of the New Warriors. This is a frustrating one because you've got the bare bones of a good action figure here. Like, this is actually, the face sculpt is nice. I like the goggles, the eyes behind it, the blue of the costume, the design on there, that's cool. The only thing that Speedball is missing is Speedballs. Anything. The character, the whole point of his power is he bounces around with all these energy balls flying around him. It wouldn't have actually have taken like a Herculean amount of work to have done some sort of power accessory that at least hinted towards that. But nothing? That is real egregious because, and I've said before, his name's Speedball. You got to have something to represent the speedballness of the character. Also, I like what you did with the mask and the lenses and the eyes and all that. That's great, but Speedball by his nature is a fun, vibrant, optimistic, bouncy character. So why does he have the same stoic face that Avalanche had, that so many other characters have at this time, where once again we look at the emotion chart and it's like, no, emotion expensive, we're going to go cheap. Like, is that how it works? Because if there's no price for different expressions, I'd just be like, no, can we have an interesting expression, please? Or even just like a little smile. I know there are some people who, boring people who are like, no, I don't want faces. I want like a plain kind of face so he can just be in any sort of pose or situation. But even then, it's Speedball. You could give him like a little smile or something, but just nothing. No, terrible. That's not Speedball. That's a dude wearing a Speedball costume. And that's not what I wanted for my New Warriors. Speaking of New Warriors, Nova, the human rocket. Once again, take what I said about Speedball and just apply it to Nova. This guy speeds like a rocket through the spaceways and galaxies. And man, is he bored while he's doing it. Just nothing going on here. Not to mention the fact that the figure itself is, again, just cheap, nothing painted body and just a plain head with no expression there. I think he had the same flame fists that everyone gets. Anyone who has a remotely sort of energy-based power, give him the flame hands. That'll do just fine. A real cheap effort for a big staple 90s New Warriors cosmic character. A lot of people, myself included, were clamoring for a Nova, the human rocket action figure. And this is what that was. Barely. Of all the figures that could really do with a redo and a better version, Nova, well, he's one of them. The Superior Spider-Man. I can think of at least one thing wrong with that title. This figure was based on one piece of artwork that was released, I imagine, to promote the Superior Spider-Man story. And unfortunately, at this stage of the story, he hadn't really updated any of the cool stuff that would become iconic with his costume. Marvel Comics hadn't introduced any of the elements of the Superior Spider-Man costume that would make it distinctly Superior Spider-Man. He didn't have the huge big Waldo spider legs that come out of his back. That's the main piece right there. But then also just generally his costume, it didn't have the wrist gauntlets either. No little spider drone or anything. It was just a flat body. Didn't even have the raised backpack, I don't think. I'm gonna have to double check that. But what it was the worst possible version you could have done of Doc Ock's Superior Spider-Man. And once again, I'm not like mad about it in as much as when you made the figure, you probably didn't know what the character was going to evolve into. But with that being the case, maybe just hold fire and wait for the series to progress a little bit before doubling down on making an action figure. Because the whole time that this existed, every Superior Spider fan, myself included, was just like, can we have a redo of this, please? Because when we got one, you know what? They did a damn fine job of it. But until that was finally willed into existence by all of us, we had this thing based on one piece of artwork, and it really didn't cut it. Speaking, as I have before, about the low points of the MCU, shutting at low, 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 we got Talos over here, which is a dude with a green face. That's it. Once again, like so many MCU figures, you look at it and go, would any MCU collector feel that their collection wasn't complete because they don't have this? Because we've got a Talos already. Like, there is a Talos in his Skrull gear, like at least looking like an interesting character. And it's almost like someone went, you know what? The kids these days, the kids love Talos. They're demanding. I can hear it. I can hear them asking. They're saying, give us Talos, but give us Casual Day Talos. Give us Dress Down Friday Talos. Because that's what we've got. We've got a green head and just, I don't know, Urban Outfitters clothes, I suppose. Just one of those characters where it's like, obviously kids don't want this, but that's fine. A lot of Marvel Legends aren't made for kids, but hardcore adults? I don't think we wanted this either. Oh, this guy had to make the cut. You know why? Spider-Man 2099 was the first Marvel Legend I ever got that broke out of the box. I opened it up. I went, okay, it's the old Spider-Man pizza body. Let's at least move him about. Broke. That was it. This pizza body had been Xeroxed and copied more times than that picture of the tennis player scratching her butt. It was so out of date and antiquated. I could not believe that we were getting in the Spider-Man retro card wave just a redo of the old Spider-Man 2099. When I saw, 2099, fantastic. I love that dude and I don't have the original one. To then see that they literally just repackaged him again, that was crazy. What was more crazy was this idiot buying it, knowing what it was. But then the fact that that old mold was so janky by that point and probably brittle and out of date that, yeah, literally moving his leg snapped away his hip piece. I was choking on my own rage making this video 6 years after the fact. That's how egregious that was. Spider-Man 2099 finally got the upgrade he needed, but not before this absolutely worthless stopgap. the Tarantula. This was a wave of retro Spider-Man figures that I felt really dragged down the whole concept of retro Spider-Man figures. Because when the retro wave first came out, it was banger after banger. It was just great stuff. And I thought, you know what? This is the perfect, like most exemplary delivery method of quality Spider-Man figures. And then we got a wave that was just trash. So I almost want to induct the whole wave. And you know what? I will do. I just decided there were a couple of good figures in this wave, but this was also a wave that included Hoodie Miles Morales, of which we have spoken about before. Tarantula with a blue bandana and just one face of like, I'm the Tarantula. That was a nothing thing. We had, this is what pains me the most. And maybe I'm feeling ungrateful because it's Ben Reilly. How can I hate a wave of figures that has 2 Ben Reileys in it? I don't know, but here we are. So we got Ben Reilly in his Beyond Spider-Man gear, which was one of those designs where it seems like the comic pencilers could never decide, like, is it red and black or red and blue? Is that shading or is it the color? We don't know. So Legends went, it's going to go red and black, but it makes a real boring looking figure. And he has, I know it's based off of the comic book artwork, but he has a big balloon head. That doesn't look good. We got Chasm. Chasm's a cool design, even if I don't like the direction the character took. I love that we got Chasm, but then it's Chasm with like just no extra hands. He's just got fists, but he should have like claws, and okay, he has swirly-whirly effects that they just throw in with absolutely everyone. It was just a wave of lackluster figures that really made me go like, do I even like Marvel Legends anymore? Oh, we got Spider-Woman in a costume that she wore for a cup of coffee as well. Yeah, the whole wave was just like, maybe Marvel Legends have passed me by. I mean, thank goodness they haven't, and they came out with some real corkers after that. But boy, when that hit, that was a low point for me. Spider-Girl from the Hobgoblin wave. This one is one that I feel they could have done so much more with, but they didn't. This was part of a wave or a time where they were just taking the small female body and then repainting it in all sorts of different quick ways. We got this Spider-Girl, we got the Ultimate Spider-Girl, we got the Old Man Logan Spider-Girl. So it's nice that we had all of these characters, but man, they went cheap and fast with them. Spider-Girl, Mayday Parker, she's as recognizable without her mask on as any other like really iconic character. She's got this cool cropped tomboy sort of haircut. She's got a bright, vibrant kind of personality to her. Of all the female figures that would justify an unmasked head, this is absolutely one of them. Plus, they committed the biggest sin for me of a Spider-Man character, which is just giving her tooth whip hands. That's it. So no wall crawling, no punching, and I don't want my Spider-Man character just doing thwips. And if they do a thwip, do one hand thwip, one hand something else. Doing the two, it's so limiting to any kind of posing you might want to do. Really annoying, mostly because I love Spider-Girl, and we've never had another Spider-Girl figure since. It's so overdue for an upgrade because this old one, even when it came out, was really disappointing. As Salma Hayek might attest, sometimes the more beautiful the lady, the harder it is to do them justice. And thus I give you Famke Janssen in her X3 Jean Grey look. Woof. It's such a shame, because it would be great to have a good-looking Famke Janssen figure. And we just don't have that, because this, I know she is at this point in the movie, the Dark Phoenix. She's meant to look kind of scary, but this looks scary in the wrong way. And that's where it's a bit of a swing and a miss. So even though I like the fact that it exists, or more than I like the fact that the movie X3 exists, they really did our girl dirty. I hope that maybe Famke Janssen might get a brand new Marvel Legend when Secret Wars or Doomsday comes out. It's a chance for a do-over for so many old school Fox characters. Because this, I wouldn't say it's as legendary as, say, some other figures on this list, but it's definitely very well known as being a really bad human likeness. Because this don't look like Famke Janssen. Sometimes I love Marvel Legends for giving us versions of characters that appear oh so briefly, but it's good enough that it deserves an action figure. This version of Spider-Man in the symbiote costume is not one of those designs. This was a one-issue appearance of Peter in the symbiote costume, and for whatever reason, the artist thought to himself, you know what? Peter in the symbiote is an iconic design, and this is the first time that he's taken back the Venom symbiote for decades. I'm going to redesign it. Why? You took the iconic Spider-Man design and made it look dumb. And making the black costume look dumb, like, you got to work quite hard to do that because it's basic, but it's awesome. So why not take his lenses and then have them flutter out to the side of his head like little butterfly wings or something, and then take the awesome, bold spider design and make it all jaggedy and weird. And then also the biggest like artistic flex you could do, the little white dots on his hands. Yeah, I'm going to turn them into squares. Yeah, I'm going to make them like diamonds. Yeah. Why? Just because. And then Marvel Legends were like, yes, that is money right there. Definitely deserves an action figure. Definitely didn't. Undoubtedly, one of the greatest Build-A-Figures of all time is the Toy Biz Apocalypse. But in order to build that apocalypse, you would have had to have bought X-23. And this, I don't know what's going on here with this figure. A giant, huge, big bobblehead and then little spindly, bindly body. X-23, Laura Kinney, back then she was still quite a new character in the comics, but already she was very popular, definitely deserving of a Marvel Legend. And I'm saying before, I'm not grading these by like modern standards. So of course, if you look at figures from Toy Biz from 25 years ago, you might be like, oh, that's not very good compared to today's figures. That's not what I'm doing. This figure looked terrible in 2003 or whatever it was that it came out. When this hit store shelves back in the day, I remember folks being like, really? I think this was probably our first X-23 figure. And already just one figure in, you're like, nope. Go back, do it again. And luckily they did. By now, we've actually got a few decent X-23 figures out there on the market, but you cannot say that the poor character, she got off to quite a shaky start. From the Daredevil 3-pack, we got Bullseye, and any long-term viewers of model behavior will know exactly what I'm talking about with this one. It's not so much the figure itself, but what they did and what it represented, because this Bullseye figure is a repaint of the original single-pack Bullseye figure, which is great. Everything they did with this was so good. Both heads, fantastically done. So unique with the cowl up. He's got his evil, maniacal grin. He's got the missing tooth. And then with the cowl down, you got the manic bald head with the carved in logo, the target. So good. Plus, he's got his removable knife. He's got his bang hand, which just looks so cool. He's got the throwing knives, the 3 knives that come off of his hand. He's got the holster with the gun. No, he hasn't. Ah, yeah. That's why I hate this figure. They took away his gun for no reason except to save a fraction of a half of a cent of plastic. I don't know. And maybe there's someone in Marvel or Legends team who can say, like, actually, Dave, the moment that figure came out, we got a mandate from Marvel or whatever saying we're not allowed to include guns anymore. Maybe that was it. I don't think it was, because we had guns before and we've had guns since. But for whatever reason, they took their Bullseye and went, just take the gun out. Which my instant reaction would have been, okay, well, that's a real shame you're taking the gun out, but fine, he's got all these other extras, so I guess we'll take the holster off as well. Oh no. Oh, no. Leave that on. It's like, why would you leave an empty holster on him? Well, that way people can see what we've taken away. What? That was the thing that really just drove me cuckoo bananas, was that because they've taken away the gun, he looks incomplete. He is an incomplete action figure that you're now spending more money than you did originally for the previous single release figure, and you're getting visibly less. Oh, man. All these years later, still twists my knickers. That's a very British expression for you. Well, howdy there, sugar. Are you a sweet looking thing? You know, my third husband gave me this here bomber jacket. Why don't you go give me some chips for it? I'm sorry, I did that's terrible voice, but hey, it's terrible rogue figure. Probably the most famous terrible Marvel legend. At least she wasn't a single release. This version of Rogue from Toy Biz came in an X-Men box set, which actually I own because I love those big box sets, possibly because of the grotesque looking faces on some of the characters. They were so of their time. First of all, little bit shady of Toy Biz for putting Rogue in a multiple, like I think it's a 6-figure box set. Granted, it probably cost like $20 back in the day. But yeah, still pretty shady that you had to buy the entire set just to get Rogue. But then when you see this Rogue, are you sure you really want her? I guess what they were going for was to like have the eyes kind of like looking up like she's like flying. So if you have her horizontally, she'll be looking up. But no. First of all, she was shot by Homer Simpson's makeup gun. And then everything else is just like, oh man. It stood the test of time, though. You got to admit, it stood the test of time. People are still talking about it to this day. By people, I mean this guy. What I will say, though, she actually has a soft goods bomber jacket. You're not going to see that from Marvel Legends these days. You have to go to Mayfex to get a proper soft goods bomber jacket. That is actually really nice. It's just everything else that has become monstrously legendary, and not in any kind of good way. Stealth Suit Future Foundation Spider-Man. You know what? Some things really get my goat, and one of them is when you give us the alternate version of a character before you actually give us the main one. That's not fair. That's not how it should work. You should give us what we want, and then if it sells really well, then you'll go, oh, we knew people wanted this, but we didn't know they wanted it that much. That's great. The demand is there. Let's give you some variants as well. Instead, they went, nah. If you want the Future Foundation, you got to buy this one first. We know you want it, so maybe convince us a bit more. Convince us you really want it, but buy the stealth alternate version first, then we'll think about doing Future Foundation. You know what? The year right now is 2026, and there are rumors and leaks that we are going to get a Future Foundation wave. We should do, because this is about 20 years after this, not 20 years, about 6 years after this figure came out. Better late than never, I guess. But yeah, the fact that we didn't have a Future Foundation and instead we got a stealth version that's just on his own, I guess, because we're not going to get stealth versions of the other characters anytime soon. I wouldn't have thought. But we got stealth version Spidey, so that's a thing. Comic book wave Miles Morales. I had to put something from the comic book waves on here, just because the comic book waves by their very existence are one of the most egregious things from Marvel Legends recently. Oh, long gone are the days where we'd get multiple Builder figures throughout the year. But don't worry, because they do now come with a little plastic comic book, except it's not a comic book, it looks more like an iPad. So, which I guess is modern, I suppose. But yeah, so that's terrible, all right? First things first, that's really bad. But then this Miles figure in particular is just a bad idea. Poorly implemented, I think, because he's got these weird bulgy out hips, which I think was designed in order to maybe get him into like lower spider crouches. But all it does is throw off the entire aesthetics of what is already a pretty basic figure, which now looks so weird and janky and unnatural that of all the different versions of Miles that we've had, and we have had quite a few, this most up-to-date one is probably one of the worst efforts they've done. And considering some that might actually even be on this list, that's really rather saying something. The Deluxe Super Skrull. Hey, guess what? This Super Skrull is not that super. You know why? Let me tell you. The whole point of the Super Skrull, and I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but you'll have to indulge me. The whole point of the Super Skrull is that he has all four of the Fantastic Four's powers. Can you see where I'm going with this? Because this particular Skrull has 3 out of 4, which I guess is 75%. It's not that bad, I suppose, unless you had a previous Super Skrull that you actually did properly. with all 4 powers represented. So the Super Skrull Builder figure, even though it was only a little bit of flame on his hand, he had all the Fantastic Four's powers. This deluxe version that you've souped up doesn't have anything invisible. That's kind of crazy, considering that you had done the stretchy invisible fist before. Like, it existed. And you were just like, nah, don't bother about it. And then this is another one of those things where they were so beholden to the source material that it really made the figure look bad, because they were copying a trading card, which is nice to do. But then that meant like he had this just a flat, also they were copying it, but also it made life easier as well. He has the flat cut on his waist between the flame legs and the rest of his body. And it just looks so dumb. It looks like he's literally wearing flame-colored spandex leggings. If half his body is on fire, it's got to blend. There's got to be some transition, because it literally looks like he's pulled on spandex Human Torch tights. That's a terrible look. That, combined with only having 3/4 of his power set, that is not a very super Skrull. Disney Plus Kingpin, or as some people have called him, Ozempic Kingpin, because this is the Kingpin of crime who is looking rather svelte and slender. I guess maybe being a mob boss doesn't bring in the money like it used to. He's had to cut corners, reduce his diet a little bit, and he's dropped some weight because of it. Because this Kingpin is not the statuesque, intimidating, big, badass look that Wilson Fisk has in the Disney and Netflix shows. This is just kind of a bit of a sad-looking Kingpin. This almost looks like Sony's, video game Avengers version of the Kingpin. It's like, well, it's kind of Vincent D'Onofrio, I guess, but it's Temu Vincent D'Onofrio. It's Vincent D'Onofrio having dropped quite a lot of weight and just not really looking like the big badass Daredevil villain that we've come to know him as. And since to this day, this is still the only version of the Kingpin that we have from the MCU, it definitely feels like one that they need to go back and give us another try with. Because this is just feeling a little bit sad. A famous modern bad Marvel legend. It is the Hood. There's a few things that are egregious about this figure. The first one that kind of stuck in my craw, though, was when it was originally revealed. And man, this shows how petty I am, that I remember these things from years ago. This was presented, I think it might have been Dan Yuen who was responsible for saying it. He said, "May I present the angry Marvel Legends fan?" Well, guess what? You're looking at the angry Marvel Legends fan. I think he said the angry Marvel Legends collector, but the point still stands. You don't introduce a figure by mocking your audience. We're the ones who are buying this, pal, and we're angry because we're passionate. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure some people are just unpleasant, and I feel bad about that, but I'm one of the ones who is just like, I love what you do, so I get salty when it's not the way that we'd like to see it. Anyway, that notwithstanding, the whole gimmick of the Hood is that he wears a hood. You know what the problem is with this Hood? Is that he can't wear the hood. I know in the pictures, like, it does look okay, but the real problem is that if the character is standing on the ground, the hood is lower than his feet are. So that means that it actually just hovers above his head, because the hood touches the ground before the feet do. So it just sort of doesn't sit on him. It floats over him. That's one thing. But then the face sculpt, the angry Marvel collector face, that doesn't look like Parker Robbins at all, the character who is the Hood. There's no resemblance. It's just a random angry man face. Okay. And then you take all of that and you throw in his power effects of magic bullets, I guess is what we can call them. It's a good concept, but it looks odd in execution, is all I'll say. So all those things piled on top of each other ultimately leads to a not great version of the Hood, but certainly one that we all remember quite well. Not fondly, but well. There are some figures where you can just imagine the pitch meeting happening when they're putting this thing together. Someone says, oh, you know what? The Skrull Queen, that would be a cool figure to have. And someone looks at some reference material and goes, oh man, have you seen her costume? You seen what goes into that? Nah, we ain't making that. That's too elaborate, too ornate, too cool looking. That's going to cost too much money. And then someone else goes, Hang about, lads. Hang on. I just thought of something. Let me just bring up Marvel Unlimited. Boom, boom, boom. And they were like, what the heck is that? And they said, you know what? When the Skrull Queen first appears in Secret Invasion, she had been impersonating Spider-Woman, which means that there are a couple of panels where it's Spider-Woman's body with the Skrull Queen head. And someone said, give that man a can of Coke because that's what we're making. And then there's another character we can tick off the list and say, we've made a brand new character, because guess what? That's the Skrull Queen, baby, and that's the only version you're getting. Spider-Man No Way Home was an absolute dream come true of a movie for old school Spider-Man fans. We had the 3 iconic movie versions all together on the silver screen at one time in the MCU, so of course we were begging for Marvel Legends versions of these Spider-Men, and Hasbro knew that, and they knew how to capitalize on it as well. Because before giving us the versions that we really want, they were going to give us very expensive versions to tide us over until then. And by tide us over, I mean take our money for the first time before double dipping for the next ones. So we got the No Way Home 3-pack. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and Tom Holland finally all united under one very basic set of Spider-Man, mainly being no unmasked heads. You're going to have to wait and buy those figures again for those. But a basic set of hands and costumes that were kind of pretty much right. That's what you're getting. Oh, by the way, the Tom Holland figure, yeah, if you bought the Armadillo wave, the first wave of No Way Home figures, no, you're buying that again because it's the same costume. But if you want the 2 other Spider-Men, well, guess what? You're going to have to buy that one too. Plus, the regular price, no. We're jacking that up big time because we know you want it. So that was a real classic example of Hasbro doing the old double dip, giving us a very below standard version of something they know we're going to buy because we're hopeless idiots, myself included. And then a year later, oh, there you go. We're only teasing you. Here are the proper versions. Money me. And we did. And the number 1 worst Marvel legend of all time has to be Spider-Ham, an action figure that when I was doing this list, I thought to myself, this isn't an action figure, this is a Happy Meal toy. And then lo and behold, the first review I find for it likens it to a Happy Meal toy. There you go. I'm not alone in my thinking, because they had the brass monkeys to sell a full-priced Marvel legend that was just this. Like, I sound like Salma Hayek. What is this? What am I looking at here? This is an accessory. They sold for full price an accessory, something that should have come as a pack-in with an actual action figure. If you want to talk about completely unacceptable, this is completely unacceptable. Because we also got a Spider-Ham later from the Spider-Verse line. Guess what? He was an accessory, because that's what that should be. But I'm guessing that the powers that be thought, you know what? This monster Venom, this Build-A-Figure, people are going to want to get him. And you know what? He is going to be quite big. So we're going to put the huge big torso in with the teeny tiny little character. We can justify it. You're still buying a lot of plastic. Shut up. What's that? You don't care about building monster Venom? Well, tough. $20 or whatever it was at the time for Spider-Ham, this little fixed Happy Meal toy that they had the brass balls to charge full price for. Absolutely unbelievable. For me personally, the world's worst Marvel legend. And folks, that does it for what might be the most epic video I've ever filmed for this channel. I hope you enjoyed it. The big question, of course, is, who did I forget? Who did I not include? What action figures are so terrible that they absolutely deserve a place on this list? And thank you so much to the Model Behavior channel members who joined me on the live streams and helped me put together this infamous list of the best of the worst of Marvel Legends. And folks, if you're watching to this point, then thank you so much for sitting down and hopefully enjoying what was one of the longest videos I've ever done. I'm absolutely exhausted, but if you enjoyed it, then a thumbs up would be hugely appreciated. So gang, thank you so much for watching. Let me know who's missing from this list. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
Coffee.